My name is Nazira Tareen. I was born in India, South India, in Bangalore city. I was born in 1939. We were 5 sisters and 2 brothers. And I went to school in Bangalore. From childhood, I was in an English school. I grew up speaking English, Urdu and Kannada. Kannada is the same as Canada, but spelled with a K. That's the language of my region. So I grew up speaking 3 languages, and I went to a Methodist school as a child from kindergarten to grade 7. And from then I went to Anglican school till I finished my high school. And then I went to a university which was run by nuns. It was called Mount Carmel College in Bangalore. I went to Bishop Cotton Girls High School, Home School and Mount Carmel College. I got married to my husband, Dr. Farooq Tareen, on December 31st, 1967 in Bangalore. I married my husband without seeing him, unseen marriage. It was a totally arranged marriage. He had been in North America since 1963, so he came to Bangalore looking for a bride, and we were introduced and we got married on the 31st of December. And I was in Canada on the 13th of January 1968, 13 days after my wedding I was here. I lived in Kingston for 8 months because my husband was doing his fellowship in cardiology at Queen's in Kingston General Hospital, and he had been there since July, so we came to Ottawa on the 1st of September. He finished his year, but I was there only for 8 months. And I came to Ottawa on my birthday, September 1st, and I have lived in Ottawa since 1968. When I got married and came here, I wanted to work. First, when I was in Kingston, I went to community colleges and I did interior decoration. And when I came to Ottawa, I wanted to work, but my husband said, I don't want you to work. If you want, you can study. So I looked into the Teachers College, and I looked into Algonquin College. The nursing department and the early childhood department was started in 1969. I was one of the first students. All my friends, my classmates were 18 and 19-year-old high school grads. I was the only married lady, and they thought I was over the hill. I thought I was very old at that time. I wonder what they'll say now when I'm 75. When we came to Ottawa in 1968, we were living in a small 1-bedroom apartment on Bell Street, and we used to go, there was a little small building, 2 small buildings. One of them was used as a mosque where the present Ottawa Mosque is. So we used to go to pray there, so we met a lot of Muslims in that place. And one of them, he phoned me one day and he said, we are going to have a dinner. Then we went to the dinner and we had dinner. And then I found out that they were raising money to build the first mosque in Ottawa. So I started doing my voluntary work since I came here, and it has just developed over the years.
I've known Nazira for almost exactly 5 years ago this month. I met her, and it was when I first decided to run for politics. And I talked to people that I knew in the community, and everywhere I went I said, well, I need to meet people who are community leaders. I need to meet the people who know a lot of other people and who can make introductions for me. Every person I spoke to said, then you must meet Nazira Tareen. Nazira is a living legend in our community.
That was the first part. Then I joined the Ottawa Muslim Women's Auxiliary, which was part of the Ottawa Muslim Association, which was started by Eva Wahab. She was the founder. She was the first Lebanese lady born in Ottawa. Her parents came from Lebanon, and she was the first child born in Ottawa. And she started the auxiliary, and she was the president from the beginning, from 1962 until 63. I bought a house, so I moved from my apartment to Qualicum and Graham Park, and I had a housewarming party. So I called Eva Wahab and I invited her to come to my housewarming party. So she said, Nazira, do you mind if I bring a few ladies with me? I said, sure, bring them, because I didn't know anybody.
Then one day we were invited to Nazira's house. We didn't think that there were that many, but when we went to Nazira's house, it was a house full of Muslim women. And both Eva and I said, my gosh, I can't believe it. Where did these people come from?
She said, we have the Ottawa Muslim Women's Auxiliary, and I've lived in Ottawa for a long time. I have never seen so many Muslim ladies before. I had a house full that day. They were all my friends, and she said, we have an auxiliary and we would like you to join. I became part of the Ottawa Muslim Women's Auxiliary from that day onward, and we did a lot of work, and I became the 5th president. I was elected first in 77 to 79, then I served again 2 terms in the 80s when you are under the umbrella of another organization. So we were part of Ottawa Muslim Association. As such, when I was president, I raised $7,000 to $8,000 a year. We were not allowed to keep that money. We had to hand it over to the main association. We could only keep 1,000. After some time in the 90s, it fizzled out. There was no auxiliary. I would go to courts and arbitration places, and I found out they didn't have a copy of the Quran. They only had a Bible. So I delivered copies of the Quran to all the courthouses in Ottawa and to all the arbitration offices. And then that's how I got involved in so many things, from one thing to another. Another lady who was very active in the community was Charlotte Chowdhury. She is German. She came from Germany. She accepted Islam and she married Mr. Khalaf Chowdhury, who was from Pakistan. And she was doing a lot of charitable work too. And she told me, Nazira, why don't you go and volunteer at OCISO, Ottawa Carleton Immigration Services office? I said, sure. So I went and served as a volunteer for 3 years, from 1977 to 1980. In 1975 or 76, there was a school called Notre Dame High School. The teacher, she called me and she said, we teach world religion in grade 11 because it was a Roman Catholic school. She said, would you please come and give a presentation on Islam? So I went there and I gave a talk. Then she talked about me to other schools. There were only 3 schools at that time in the Ottawa board. So I was going to these 3 schools. A few years down the road, the Carleton board and the Ottawa board amalgamated. So whenever these teachers met at PD days, they would talk about it. And then I started getting calls from all the schools, right up to Ann Pryor, even up to Brockville, from all over, from Hawkesbury, from all over Ottawa, surrounding, and all the schools, they started calling and they started coming to the mosque. The mosque was built in 77, so I started receiving the grade 11 students from all the Roman Catholic schools, and I'm still doing it. They're still coming to this day.
I think one of the things that is really special about Nazira is that she is truly able to bridge different cultures, different faiths, different backgrounds, and she sees into the heart of the person. But the other thing that is very special about her is that she can explain her faith to people who weren't born into it, who don't understand it. And one of the first things that she did was she started to talk to me and explain to me about Islam. And it's one of the reasons that I think that I've come to understand a little bit better. And I think that what she does in bringing people together is extremely important, especially in today's climate, where there are elements out there that are trying to say that people's differences are more important than our similarities. And I think that Nazira is somebody who helps us to realize that really underneath we are all the same, and that if you can just bring people together in friendship, that is something that will draw people to you. It's the kind of thing that, as I said, it personifies the very best in being Canadian, and it personifies the very best in being human, and that is Nazira.
When I came to Ottawa, Prime Minister Trudeau introduced the Department of Multiculturalism, and there were many functions. We attended all those. We dressed our children in different costumes, different things. We held parties, to promote multiculturalism in universities everywhere. And then the Muslim community of Ottawa, we come from 57 nationalities. When I came to Ottawa, the Muslims were less than 500 people, including men, women and children. And majority of them were either from Pakistan or Guyana or Lebanese. Lebanese were in the majority, Lebanese and Pakistanis, a few Guyanese and a few Egyptians, etc. Indians, I was an Indian Muslim, we were less than 5 or 10 families. People started coming. It was a multicultural society right in our mosque. And me coming from India, I have lots of friends in the Indian community. I'm a life member of the India-Canada Association. I'm a life member of the Indo-Canadian Community Center. I'm very involved with both parties, Hindus and Muslims and Christians and Jews. Even in India as a child, my best friends were Jewish, Christian, Hindu, Sikh. I didn't have any Muslim friends because I went to an Anglican school, and the school was full of Americans, Swiss, Germans, etc., Europeans. Multi-faith housing initiative was started by one of my friends. Her name is Sister Jean Goulet. She's a nun in Ottawa. She belongs to the Christian Muslim Dialogue Group. Anne Squire, who was the executive director of the United Church of Canada, she said, if you don't bring a Muslim lady, I'm not coming to the next meeting. So the men invited me to join. So I was the first lady to join the Christian Muslim Dialogue Group in 1990. And after I joined, I took Hiam, my friend, to go with me. We meet on the third Wednesday of every month, and we do a lot of things. We share our religion. We share the commonalities between the two religions. We pick the same topic. For example, Jesus Christ in the Bible and Jesus Christ in the Quran, or the concept of God in the Quran and the concept of God in the Bible. So we share, and there's one presenter from the Christian faith and one presenter from the Muslim faith, and they give their presentations. After that, there's open for discussion and question and answer. So we have been meeting, and Jean Goulet was the one who started, she and a few others started the Multi-Faith Housing Initiative to provide affordable housing for low-income families. My husband started the Tulipathon walk, charitable walk around Dow's Lake in the 90s. It was done under the banner of the Ottawa Muslim Association. Every year there was a new president. Some presidents supported him, some didn't. So he got tired, and when we got to know Multi-Faith Housing Initiative, he gave the whole Tulipathon walk to them. So the Tulipathon walk is now under the banner of Multi-Faith Housing Initiative. My husband, until he was alive, he was part of it. Now, he passed away 2 years ago, but I am continuing to be part of it. So all the planning committees are still held in our home. It was always held here. We raise money every year. All the faith groups come and walk, and they get pledge forms, and they raise the money, and the money is given to Multi-Faith. They buy apartments and they rent it to people with low income. The Ottawa Muslim Association, men, mostly they were men, they asked me to please revive the auxiliary or do something. And we said, no, we don't want to be an auxiliary, we want to be autonomous, and we want to have our own charitable status. So if we raise any money, we should be able to spend it the way we want to. So we were discussing it, and we were planning it to start an organization. Then 9/11 happened. And the ladies were terrified to go out of the house, because some of the ladies were chased down in parking lots. One lady in the bank, somebody spat on her face. And men who were Muslims, who had Muslim names, they all lost their jobs.
I knew Nazira actually in very kind of difficult circumstances. That was in 2002, so now it's been more than 13 years ago. And my husband was arrested, and I remember I was talking to Alexa McDonough at that time, and she was the leader of the New Democratic Party, and she said, Monia, do you know Nazira? And I said, no. And she said, well, you know what? She invited me to come to an Eid kind of a party, and I think she would love to have you there. This is how I met her the first time. I met her at her place, and she had a big party with a lot of women, local politician there, and she just embraced me. You know, she didn't ask me question about, she never kind of, I didn't feel judged, even though my husband was in the spotlight at that time, and everybody was we were after 9/11, everybody was scared about Muslim and terrorism and all these issues. And she said we should do something about that, and you know, she helped me. She offered her unconditional support, and since then, you know, we have been friends.
And women were terrified. So I said, we have to form the organization. So I started this organization, the Ottawa Muslim Women's Organization, on the 30th of September 2001. My daughter's name is Shireen, which means sweet, and my son's name is Umar. Umar is just a historical name. From one of the companions of the prophets was Umar. My daughter was born first. She's 44 years old, and my son was born the next year. He's 43. And my son got married first. He got married in 2001. He has 2 children. My grandson is 9 years old, and my granddaughter is 8 years old. And my daughter got married later, and she has a 5-year-old son. I have received many awards, mostly for my volunteer work. But the one I really like is the one I got from the Immigrant Women's Services of Ottawa. According to them, I am the person who suggested the best solution in helping to end violence against women. They were going about it in different ways. I said, no, that's not the way you go. If you want to end this, we have to get the imams of the mosques involved, which I did. And we asked all the imams to give sermons on violence against women in the mosques, and they did it continuously for a month. Every mosque in Ottawa, that was the sermon that was given.
To me, for Nazira, she's a very humble woman, and I think that for her, it isn't the awards, it is the sense of being able to do good and to be able to really live her faith and share it and bring people together. That's an award in itself for Nazira.
Most of the people know me, and I know a lot of people. I know most of the people who have lived here a long time, and those who have come recently, I come to know them in different ways, and there's always a story. Hiam Kirby is like my sister. She's my soulmate, she's everything. We are very close. I get tears in my eyes when I talk about you. She's very dear to me. She's born in Yemen and I'm born in India, but we are like sisters from the same mother.
Nazira is my sister, my guidance, my mentor, and the love that started between us was, when our children were little, young, very young. When I started Mothers for Peace program, Nazira was the first one that was in my heart, because Nazira was the one who led me into the Muslim Women Organization.
I was introduced to Nazira Tareen when I moved into the building. It was midnight. I was unloading my car, and she just offered to help. And the next day, she invited me over for lunch or dinner, I think, or something. And from then onwards, she just took me under her wings. What I really love about her is her spirit of love and generosity, and her amazing willingness and desire to help anyone in need in the community. When I was sick last year, she was at my place doing my dishes every day and dropping food all the time. So I think for me, that is the most amazing aspect of Nazira Tareen.